Hi everyone! So today is day 17 of March Madness, and we are actually right on schedule, right in alignment with what you see on Instagram and social media. So today's exercise is the shoulder bridge. And I hope you are all well. Before we unpack this exercise, I just want to say that this has been super fun, and I want to encourage you all to just keep coming back to these tutorials because I really want this to serve as a foundation. So if you are moving along with me in the Anonymous Pilates Club and it's down the road and something's not making quite sense, things are moving quickly, come back to these and just kind of review. This is how I have improved my personal practice, is just by going back to my notes from teacher training, for example. Whenever things are feeling stale or whenever I'm feeling like I'm plateauing a little bit, I'll open up my teacher training manuals and I'll just search for the first thing that catches my eye, because likely I've forgotten. There's so much information and there's so much in a Pilates practice that it's impossible to retain all of the information at once. So that's my goal with all of these tutorials, is you can use them as an everlasting resource. So anyways, shoulder bridge. I love this exercise. I think that it's not necessarily easy to do, but it's easy to understand, and it's really easy to simplify, and it's really easy to challenge yourself with this exercise. And it has just amazing benefits to it. Like, you get to open your chest and shoulders. Your glutes and your hamstrings are working in order to keep your hips elevated, and you get a nice active stretch through the front of the hip flexors. So really, really great to counterbalance all the things that we do in a day. Slouching over our computers, sitting all day, whatever, all of those things. So today we are going to go through two variations, one which you'd commonly see in the Anonymous Pilates Club classes and in my live group classes, and then I'm going to go right into the advanced variation, which is more of like a back extension, kind of it would be a good prep if your goal would to be doing like a high bridge or a wheel. So for my yogis out there, this might be a really cool variation for you to try as a placeholder if you're not ready to go into a high bridge. Those kinds of exercises do exist in the Pilates repertoire, but yeah. So anyways, so I think, I kind of already went through why we do this exercise. So let's just kind of recap that. So recap that. Oh my gosh, I talk a mile a minute when I get excited. So you're strengthening the back of your legs, so how your glutes and hamstrings connect with one another. You're stretching the quads and the hip flexors. Okay, on the way up and on the way down, you get this nice spinal articulation, spinal massage. It's a little bit of a shoulder stand prep because you're pushing your arms down into the floor, opening your chest. So there's that element that's going to help you with your rollovers, with your corkscrew, with your jackknife, which we're going to learn tomorrow. And then, of course, you've got the added challenge of stabilizing your pelvis and your core and your trunk against a big, heavy leg that's moving in space. And there's a bit of a hamstring stretch in there too. It's really a lot, right? So let's go over the exercise. So you're going to start by bending your knees. Your feet are hip distance apart. Your arms are by your side. And then you're going to articulate your spine to come up. Okay, what you want to make sure of here is that you're in a diagonal line from your knees down to your shoulders. Okay, so we'll just go through the exercise and then I'll talk about really common mistakes that I see. Okay. So once you've stabilized everything, you're going to take your right leg and reach it up towards the ceiling. You're going to flex your foot, lower the leg, and kick it up 5 times. Your breath is just nice and easy, and the goal is to not move anything. You change legs. I always like to stabilize before I go to the other side. Okay, so you'll see this exercise a lot in the classes I teach. Now, the advanced variation is you're going to prop yourself up onto your back of your arms. So this will look similar to our scissors high bicycle kind of thing-ish yesterday. So you're really holding the sides of your hips, and now you've taken your spine, your upper spine, into extension. Okay, this is going to add more stretch to the front of your legs and prepare you for more severe back bends or more big back bends. The choreography is the same. Okay, you're going to slide your foot. I'm like, any day now. There we go. We're going to kick and lift. Okay, so 5 times, 3 to 5 times here. Okay, and then you slide. And you'll notice I get into this differently. You're going to slide your foot out to lift it up. So again, it's that added increase in stretch. That's the extra challenge here when we're up in this full back bend. Your exit strategy is just bringing your arms down by your side. You return your ribs to neutral and you roll your spine all the way down. Okay, so that's your shoulder bridge. I'm going to go back to the start, and actually I'm going to let it play to the start position, and I'm going to kind of highlight a few things that commonly go wrong in this exercise. All right, so, and also I'll say just a bit of a way to simplify this. If you're not ready for the kicking of the leg, if you're not ready to challenge yourself that way, you can simply just have your feet hip distance apart, roll your hips up and down, 3 to 5 times. And that's a great exercise. It's a great way to warm yourself up. If you've come in from a run, a really beneficial exercise. So things that commonly go wrong. The obvious ones are your pelvis dropping. Okay, so that would just be your glutes disengaged. They're not holding you up anymore. Pelvis twisting. So that, of course, it would be you lose the stability on the side of the leg that's lifting up. And the reason usually for that is just because sometimes I think psychologically we're like, okay, I'm going to reach my right leg up into the air. I don't have to work that side anymore, but you still have to keep that glute engaged as a means, and that side of your core engaged as a means to keep that hip from dropping and twisting. Okay, so that's also like your core strength as well. So those are 2 common, really obvious things. But a more nuanced thing that I see go wrong in this exercise is people receiving a lot of tension through their lower backs. So the same kind of gripping and discomfort that you'd feel if you were doing swan dive and it wasn't going well. You were gripping and using your lower back too much. So if you look at my position, I wish that I could have a little bit of a marker, but you see that my ribs are closed and my pubic bone is higher than my hip bones. So no matter what size of body you are, if you think about your skeleton, you want your knees to be higher than your thigh bones, and then your your pubic bones higher than your hip bones, and then it's your rib cage, and then it's your shoulders. So usually people that have tension through their lower back, it means their pelvis is dropping lower and their rib cage is lifting higher, and that's causing the lower back to hyperextend or arch. Okay, I hope that kind of clarifies things with what I mean by the back tension. And then when that starts to happen, you're going to lose some of the benefit of the exercise, because if the back starts to arch, your core is no longer engaging and you're no longer pulling and stretching the front thigh bones, and you're also losing a bit of that glute stability. Okay, so if that resonates with you and you feel like you're the type of person to feel tension through your lower back, what I would suggest doing is closing. If I angle this down a little bit, make sure your ribs are closed. Maybe I need to stand up. So your ribs are closed like this. You're not letting them splay open like that, okay? This is just for the first variation that I'm talking about, by the way, not the bridge, not the back extension. And the second thing I would look at is to make sure that I would think almost about tucking. So pulling, if you were like to slide on a pair of jeans that was a bit too tight and you really want to kind of cinch yourself into them. I don't really like that visual, but you kind of think about tucking under a little bit just to engage that core a bit more. So you kind of want to overcompensate before your leg comes up into the ceiling, okay, up towards the ceiling. Okay, so let's just flow through the exercise a bit more. So when I take my leg up, I want you to notice that I am lowering my leg down a little bit lower than my knee. I'm going to pause it on the other side. And the advantage to that right there, I know it's on the other side that you're looking at. The advantage to that is that's going to stretch my hip flexor a little bit more. So we're working on some of the same skills that we worked on yesterday in our high scissors and bicycle, right? But now you don't have the support of your hands or the barrel, okay? Now you have to use your butt to keep your hips elevated while that thigh bone is lowering down. So my reason for highlighting this before we kind of part ways is because your hip mobility is going to dictate how far that leg goes down and up. So if you feel your back start to arch when your leg starts to lower down, that means you've gone too far with your leg. Okay? And then similarly, you wouldn't want to take this variation until you've mastered the other variation. So again, just kind of take this. I'm going to play this video through so you can kind of just watch and notice that hopefully my pelvis isn't moving against the weight of my leg. And then I guess the big takeaway with that is your flexibility dictates the range of motion. It doesn't have to look like mine. Yours could be less or more than mine. What matters is it's a challenge for you, and that, you're making sure that you're respecting your own limits, but you're also challenging yourself as well. Okay, I'm going to bring it back to the intro screen. I'm just checking the chat. I don't see anything in the chat. I didn't really get any questions about this, so I think this is one that it's always a work in progress, and I just encourage you to just kind of check your bone positions next time you do this exercise. So where's your rib cage? Where's your pelvis? Are you indeed in a neutral pelvis, almost a posterior tilt or a kind of a slight tuck bias, as opposed to being in an anterior tilt or arching your back? And then are you challenging yourself too much with your range of motion with your leg that's kicking, or are you challenging yourself enough, right? So that leg that's kicking, it's challenging your stability of both your pelvis, but also, you've removed that foot off of the ground. So a lot of bang for your buck in this exercise. So I hope you all find that helpful. Don't forget to like or comment or do something, interact with this video. It really, really helps get more views, and it just helps support Quiet Bodies and everything in general. And tomorrow we are going to be doing 2 exercises. We're going to be going through spine twist. So that's a seated exercise, and I think it's our last of our seated exercises in the classical repertoire, and jackknife. So this is our 3rd inversion out of 4. Jackknife. It's a toughie. So I can't wait to see you tomorrow, and I hope you all have a great day. Thanks for watching.